Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I'm Mantis.
and today we are discussing Marvel's Fantastic Four has gotten its Silver Surfer. The announcement came down yesterday, and we couldn't wait to talk to you guys about it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get on into the discussion.
Yeah, so as we had previously said, the MCU's Fantastic Four movie has finally cast the Silver Surfer for this iteration of the Fantastic Four. I know there's been plenty of other ones. Apparently, those don't matter now. And now in Matt Shackman's Fantastic Four, it is said that Julia Garner, who I don't know if you've seen Ozarks with Jason Bateman and whatnot, but she plays a role. I forget. I think it's Ruth in that show. Is the same actress that will be playing. What's her name? Shalla-Bal?
Ball. I keep thinking ball.
Shalla-Bal?
Stargate.
I
Um,
know.
It's just behind me. I've not seen the Ozarks. I hear good things about it, but I've not actually
Good
ever
show.
watched it.
I've seen Ozarks. It is good. You should watch it.
Okay,
But sorry.
if I can carve out time here, we got a busy schedule.
Yes.
Um,
I know.
so this was interesting because for those of you who are familiar, and then also for those who aren't familiar with the comics, Shala Ball was actually the love interest of Norrin Reed or Rad. Sorry, Reed. I was thinking Reed Richards. Norrin Rad, who was the Silver Surfer. And in the comics, she's been the Silver Surfer before in a very, very limited mini series. She and Anoran actually both get the cosmic power, and they become the heralds, plural, of Galactus. And then he does at one point. Norin does give her some of the cosmic power to help save her planet from Galactus in the comics, but she's never actually had a full, lengthy story arc of she is the Silver Surfer. So I
Let's
don't
not
know.
put it that way here. Look, she's the whore. Okay, so she wants to bang, or she is bang. She's the lover of Norrin Rad, right? But she also, like, from what I remember, and this is kind of, I did kind of do some research on this before we made this video. Apparently, she was like, she was banging like Norrin Rad's brother or something like that as well. Like, I don't know if you've read that part, but
Well, so in the comics, the thing is, she is in love with Norrin Rad, but he doesn't ever really. I don't want to say he never reciprocates, but he tries to stay focused on his work, right? So this was probably one of those
even good.
situations where she's like, "I got to get his attention. I'm going to bang his brother." It's one of those things, is what I imagine, right? Um,
Yeah. Hey, look, they're petty. They're still petty. They're petty in the comics, right?
Yeah, I mean, just
Petty
because
in
they're
the
comic
comics.
book characters and superheroes doesn't mean they can't go a little Jerry Springer every now and then, right? So
Jerry.
Galactus, you are not the father.
Galactus. You are not.
Pull some of that shit in there. However, so this is where it's interesting. Now, because she's never actually been a full run, like I said, it was a very limited mini series where she was the Silver Surfer. It's interesting that they chose for her to become the Silver Surfer in this storyline. We knew, and if you watched our previous Fantastic Four videos, we discussed, we knew they were really leaning heavily towards doing a female Silver Surfer. Now, in that video, we had mentioned there is another actual female surfer in the comics, again, in a 5 comic book run mini series, that I didn't think was going to be the best choice for going that storyline. So I'm okay. Like, I'm not gonna fucking bitch and moan that they're making her female and all this stuff, as long as they do it well, right? I need a well written character. I need, I don't need a whole lot of backstory on Silver Surfer, but
Yeah.
I need arc. I need some character development, some character growth, or whether it's good or bad growth, right? I need a well written character with a real well written story, and then her being female doesn't matter to me, right? You can see some shiny boobies, silver boobies. That's fine. I don't care. What interests me more is they did come out now. That part is not confirmed that Galactus is going to be the main villain for this movie. Uh,
Mhm.
we had discussed after the last Fantastic Four video that we recorded that it was going to be set in the 60s. And that worried me because Marvel has proven, and DC is just as guilty. Don't get me wrong; it's not a good idea for movie franchises. Um, that going back in the past just kind of completely destroys everything you've been building towards. However,
Mhm.
it did come out that this Fantastic Four is not going to take place in the main MCU, which I believe I don't know if it's ever actually been confirmed, but this is basically Earth 616 is where the Avengers and the MCU is taking place. So it does not take place in, or at least to start with, in that universe.
I
Um,
think that I'm going to jump in because from the article that I read from IGN, because we were kind of discussing yesterday before we decided to make this video that we weren't quite sure that this was reputable info. But once other publications and outlets started picking it up, IGN for one, and they corroborated from their own sources that this was the case. I started kind of looking into it, and in this article, the IGN article specifically, it says that the report notes that she's playing an alternate version of the Silver Surfer, suggesting that this version is from Earth X. So one of the alternate realities, not the main, like you were. I'm assuming you were saying 616, right?
yeah, that's the main, or at least the current iteration of Earth we're in. Where Earth X, and that's who she is in the mini series that she gets the Silver Surfer power. Now, this kind of makes me wonder that similar to what if you watched only mine because he was not here for it. Reaction to the Deadpool 3 trailer, where the TVA does come into it, and they're basically bringing Deadpool from his universe to the MCU, the main, we'll call it the 616 universe, basically. Um, Makes me wonder if they're going to play the Fantastic Four in the past in the 60s, but in their own universe, and maybe that'll be the Silver Surfer Nornrad in their universe, but she will also get the cosmic power and comes over to this one, and brings the Fantastic Four. Like maybe the TVA is getting them and
Hmm.
bringing them to the current universe. That way, then they will come up in current time and on this universe without having to kind of have, like with the Eternals, you have to kind of do a
Yeah,
shitty explanation of why nobody's ever heard of them before, right?
yeah, but it's kind of interesting though. Like Galactus coming into like again, it's still speculation that Galactus is the main protagonist of the film. I find it really hard to believe. It would be very weird for me to view them to bring Galactus in a 1960s setting. Like, because as I was, I was talking to Cal before we jumped on here. I was earlier today. I work from home, so I was kind of walking in out of my living room, and I had on Wonder Woman, right? And Wonder Woman, the first one, which we've previously discussed in videos, that we both really enjoy. The first Wonder Woman movie, great film, and it is in the earlier time period, and that one is World War II, right? So like it, sorry, World War One, yeah, because there were uh, various characters in that film that denotate that time period specifically. I think it's primarily the German stuff, which always forget. Like this is U.S. history or world history, and in fact that Germans were involved in both of those wars on the wrong side of history. So I kind of you kind of get caught up in the fact that you always denotate to the crazy shit that happened in World War II. But in any event, that film also was in a earlier time period. So in that and I'm not going to go into spoiler alert here. Obviously, that movie's been out for a long enough time. If you haven't seen it yet, tough shit. They kind of latch on to the classic villain there for Wonder Woman as Ares, the god of war, right? But it's not a. I don't think that's a main. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think that's a main villain for that universe. I just, for me, it's kind of like, why would you make this movie in the 60s and then make Galactus your main villain? I just I don't I don't know if that's what they're gonna do, and this Shalla-Bal is gonna be the herald, kind of like, I just, for some reason, I have it in my head that it's gonna go the same script as the Silver Surfer movie, the other movie that the Marvel made. Or was it Marvel or Sony made that movie? I can't remember.
It was not
Um,
Marvel at that time, no, the Fantastic Four,
okay.
and that's kind of been the thing is, you know, here lately it's been about Disney and slash now Marvel kind of consolidating all of their character properties because X-Men's been owned by Fox, and then Sony had Spider-Man, and Fantastic Four I think was owned Fox. Like it's been spread out all over, and now they're basically consolidating to where what you're going to see in the movie is
Mhm.
Galactus is just going to be a big Bob Iger just
That's what I'm saying.
consuming
He's reaching.
consuming intellectual properties like planets, right? That's what's going to happen. Uh,
It's so funny. You're probably right. That's what's happening right now, quite frankly. Yeah, like you said.
well, the good thing is though, with the Eternals movie, we got to see Erisham and the Celestials and how they could look as opposed to just being a cloud. That gives me hope for how they could make Galactus look.
Mhm.
Another interesting thing is that they've already announced, obviously, coming up that we're gonna have Secret Wars, right? And Secret Wars in the comics was the first mega crossover where you brought the X-Men, where you brought Spider-Man, where you brought the Avengers, you brought the Fantastic Four all together for the first time, and that was to go into Secret Wars. And I kind of feel like that's what they're doing now, is they have consolidated because we're getting Wolverine in the Deadpool movie, and it's saying they're coming over to basically the current MCU, the Earth 616. We got to see the X-Men at the end of the Marvels movie in the post-credit scene.
What happened?
We were hoping you could tell us.
So there was that tie-in, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We got to see them as well as the Fantastic Four and as the Illuminati. Um, so we're getting all of these things coming together to lead into Secret Wars. And the interesting thing for those of you, if you've watched Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Reed Richards, played by John Krasinski in that movie, he talks about all of these time variations and this changing of timelines and jumping into different universes as creating incursions. And he even explains in there the incursion is when the fabric between universes gets so thin it erodes, they collide, it leads to the destruction of either one or both of
One
the
of them. Okay.
universes, which is what happens in Secret Wars. This in Secret Wars 1984, the original Secret Wars is Earth 616, and the Ultimate Marvel universe, which is I think like 1610. Don't quote me on that; I could be wrong, but I think it's like 1610. They collide, and basically the Beyonders already got all of these heroes and all of these villains on two different ships, and when they collide, they wipes them out, and then what's left in the wake, he creates Battle World, and that's where all these heroes and villains go to do battle. So I feel like we're kind of heading there because he's already mentioning incursions and all of this stuff, and what happened with Spider-Man and his with all the different villains and heroes coming in. I feel like we're leading up to this, and it's kind of like they broke a lot of things in recent times in Marvel and Disney, but I think it's going to work out into their benefit, and actually it's going to make sense to bring them together and explain now and kind of fix everything with Secret Wars. Sorry, I know that was
Yeah.
long.
No, 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 no. I kind of agree. It makes sense based on what has shown up in the previous films, what we've kind of gathered from the rumors and stuff from various articles that we've seen thus far, and what information we have thus far on the film. We all, like you said, in other videos we've talked about this of Secret Wars and where we kind of see this going. I kind of want to look at it from a different view, and this will be my last thoughts on this, because I kind of want to bring it back to the casting choice of of sorry, I can't remember her name. Julia Garner, for the role of this, and it's how they wrote it. I I don't I don't want to keep using this moniker, but I talked to Cal before about another YouTube channel, Nerdrotic, that I view quite frequently, which is funny because it's so true, the stuff he talks about. But he was recently on with Pierce Morgan on his show, so he's kind of making the rounds on the little, he's creeping into the higher end section of political commentation. But it comes to this because pop culture and comic books, video games, movies, these things are important. um they shape the culture not only for the United States, but quite frankly around the world. People want this type of stuff. It's what is one of the building blocks of making the US a superpower. But we're in this culture war right now with uh various things, and you know when it comes to the MCU and Disney in particular, and Bob Iger, as we discussed earlier, like, he was trying to say that, oh, we're gonna fix all this, right? And the MCU, which is coined by their side, but it's what happened. Again, he mentioned it. It's like, after the Marvels, that was the turning point. Like, when the Marvels happened, all of a sudden this shit changed, right? And now we're getting into DEI and all this nonsense. And one of the main points he made, and I think with this, and you said it earlier, when you said, I don't care about that it's a female in this, it has nothing to do with it. Is the story good? Is the character good? And he brought that same thing. I mean, I kind of echo that sentiment. I don't know if Bob Iger, it seems like they're not going to change that, and this is just going to be stupid. But who knows? I I'm with you on this aspect of it, where this follows the comic books. This character has been in this universe since Silver Surfer episode 1. She was in the damn comic in 1960s. It's not like it's a new character. Been there for a long time. That supports the following the ethos and the lore of what's going on in this Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, Galactus space. Cool with that. Like you, I don't care that's the case. I just want it to be good. I don't this whole, we need to check these boxes and all this nonsense. I don't care. As long as the story's good and the film's good and the characters are portrayed like they should, everything will be fine. It's like, literally, you don't have to worry about these DEI check boxes and whether it's a female. We need more representation in this film. You don't have to worry about any of that. If the character is written well, it follows the lore, and that's mainly for the diehards of comic book diehards that know this shit. You'll have a good film. Like I said with Wonder Woman, they took some liberties with a few things, but they didn't throw the whole DEI nonsense in your face in that film. And the story was good. Again, we talked about this before. The villain was kind of shit. It's whatever. It kind of fit in with the story. I just didn't. It wasn't the greatest, but that really honestly didn't matter because the rest of the film was so good that it overshadowed all of the that nonsense. And I think with this film, even though I've spoken about this before, I'm not a huge fan of Pedro Pascal. Um, I think they should have really went with John Krasinski with this. And maybe it just didn't fit with the parallel time thing that you were saying, multiple versions of time and different universes melding together. Whatever. Even with Pedro Pascal, if the story is good, it's not gonna matter. It won't matter. Because Pedro Pascal isn't even the same league as Brie Larson as an actor.
The same league. It ain't even the same fucking sport.
Or actress. He's so much better. So the acting part, I'm not worried about at all. It's literally the storyline, and if it's done well, this whole DEI nonsense that Marvel has seemingly wrapped itself in. And maybe this is the film that they can kind of shake off that stigma of going down that route and make a great film. But who knows?
Well, the thing is, you only really start to notice and the word gender swapping comes up when it's a bad film, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the first
and
thing you do.
CGI.
Yeah, exactly. You said it on one of the last videos we recorded. You're like, you only notice CGI when it's bad. Otherwise, it's supposed to mimic reality, right? So you're not like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, that's awesome. Maybe you question whether that was real or CGI because it was that good, but you only really notice bad, right? You only notice that the character's gender swapped when the story or the acting or whatever is bad, and then you're like, dude, what is this? What's going on? You're like, and of course, we know the character, so we know in the comics. I mean, he's originally supposed to be a guy, um,
Mhm.
but it's how the character is written. Now, when you look at the original two Fantastic Fours, and I don't mean the first two movies, I mean the original two and then the rebooted version, right? You actually had some very, very prominent actors, right? Chris Evans wasn't as big back then like he is now playing Captain America, but you had I can't think of the bald guy's name. Um,
Oh,
plays Ben
he
Grimm in
was
that. It's right on
yeah,
the tip of my tongue.
he was a wrestler, MMA fighter or something, right? I can't.
Well, he's been
Uh,
in a lot of TV shows too, and I just can't think of the
oh,
off the.
yeah, The Shield. He
Yeah, the
was in The
Shield.
Shield.
This,
What
and
the
I
hell was
can't
his
I
name? He
can't
was
think
an
of his
MMA
name,
fighter.
but
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
you had
Yeah,
Jessica Alba, and then when you go to the next one, you had like Kate Mara, you had Michael B. Jordan, you had good actors, but they were in shit writing and shit directing, just shit movies, right? So yeah, I like Pedro Pascal. I don't necessarily think my big thing is just the difference between him and Sue Storm, supposed to be his wife. I just thought that was there's such a big difference as
age.
far as age,
Yeah,
especially the look of the age. Um, but whatever, I'll let that go again if it's done really well. But it doesn't matter if you line up an all star cast if your story and everything is just shit.
yeah,
When you make a female Silver Surfer and you're gonna write her shitty, you aren't gonna stay true to anything with the comics. You're gonna try to, we're gonna make our own thing. We've already proven you can't do it. You're terrible at it. You can't even follow things from the comics that have been written 50 years ago. It's all laid out for you. You still managed to fuck it up. So, like, I really don't trust if you're saying, you know what, we're gonna wing it. No, don't do that. You can't wing it. Okay, you've already proven that you guys just almost ruin anything you try to just put your own little touch on. No, if you stay true to the comics, you do the character well. It's well written, it's well directed, uh, and you don't just completely shit the bed with the CG. Then it won't matter that she's female. You can do a good movie, and
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like the only reason why I'm even considering watching this movie is because if Doctor Doom and Galactus are going to be in it, and the fact that this is going to be the lead up to Secret Wars, because
Mhm.
you've already lost me. Like you've rebooted these characters two different times. This is the third reboot. No, well, I guess second reboot, but this is the third iteration in under 20 years. Similar like with Spider-Man, I'm getting tired of seeing these characters just remade, right?
Yeah,
And I got to do all this shit just to get a good Venom in a Spider-Man movie, or get a good Doctor Doom in a Fantastic Four movie. You're not getting any more reboots with me. I'm done after that. I'm just going to stop watching altogether, and I'll just read the old comics that I have.
yeah.
Truthfully,
Yeah. It's and this movie it's set to release July 25th of next year.
which is
So
ballsy
they.
because that's like not even two full. Not to cut you off, but that's not even 2 full weeks after
Oh
Superman
yeah.
releases.
It's very, and who knows, maybe they're just like, what the track record with Superman. This is fine. Like it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. Like they're not even worried about it. Um,
Actually,
and
to be
like
fair,
you
I think
kind of.
it's exactly 2 weeks. I think it comes out on the 11th. This is on the 20th. So yeah, it's exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's ballsy. I will say that. You're right. But like you said, we've seen iterations. It's kind of the same thing with Superman. Like it's like don't and I think kind of the differences with this as opposed to the new Superman, you have a completely new cast, completely new directing, head of the franchise, head of the DCU. This just seems almost like it's the carryover type shit. I've still have this bad taste of the Marvels and that nonsense. I feel like it's still in the same vein, even though it may not be. Like I'm viewing it in that with those same glasses on. You know what I mean?
Well, because it's going to
Whereas
come over
Superman is
to
all brand new.
it's
Yeah,
going to come over to all of that. They're going to combine all of this, and a lot of it right now is not working, right? So
yeah.
two wrongs don't make a right. Like I felt like we all learned this years ago. It's like, oh, two shitty properties, we'll just smash them together, and that should be
Together.
fine. You know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. They have a chance to dig themselves out if they can do a good Doctor Doom, if they do a good Galactus, um, and then they lead off into Secret Wars. We're going to bring in the X-Men. We're going to bring in Spider-Man, all the Avengers, and all of these properties are going to come together, and you're going to have Secret Wars. It could be very good. And I feel like the TVA is going around right now and collecting everybody because when we had discussed, and for the guy who wanted to comment that didn't think I knew anything about Secret Wars, please watch this part. But we had discussed in a lengthy video about Secret Wars and the Beyonder, and I feel like the Beyonder would be too difficult if you're going by Secret Wars. He's the one that gathers all of these heroes and villains to kind of portray in a realistic setting. So I feel like the
Mhm.
TVA is a much more, they're going to go gather everybody for this conflict, right? And then maybe the Beyonder shows up at Battle World or however they're going to do this. I feel like that makes it a little more palatable for the people who aren't familiar with the comics. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
and this is some deep shit. This isn't normal characters like we discussed. Like this is getting into some Eternals territory where it's a little off the cuff, a lot of out of the mainstream um main characters that I don't know. It it's like you know, like you said, you're going to have to do some more explaining. Like there's going to have to be some more care taken to this. You can't phone it in or else it's just not going to land and people are like, I don't know what this is. Yeah.
going to go right over people's head, kind of like Eternals did, but also there were some plot holes and issues in there.
That had different yeah,
that
that movie, yeah, you're exactly right. That movie had a lot of wrong going on. It wasn't just the fact that they were doing some off the wall storylines. There was a lot of other problems with that film.
Yeah, but that exact thing can happen with Secret Wars if you're not careful. And
Oh
again,
yeah.
we've already seen Kevin Feige is the opposite of careful. He's a bull in a china shop, right? He's not
Yeah.
careful at all. They
Yeah.
just
He's not.
destroying everything. And like the only thing you're going to do to make this worse is to bring Kathleen Kennedy over and let her start dabbling in the MCU.
Fuck baby, did put a chicken in, make her gay.
Other than that, I don't know how you make it much worse. Okay. But guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I don't want this one to drag on because you guys have proven you do not like when these videos go too long. So if you have made it with us this far, we definitely appreciate it. Consider liking this video. Doing a little curve on that. Okay. Consider following where he's pointing at. Subscribing to the channel because we will keep you up to date on all of the Fantastic Four news, all the Secret War news, as well as our Superman series where we follow what's going on as we wait for that movie and apparently the battle that's going to happen in theaters between these two movies.
Yeah, should be fun. Yeah, I agree. I'm assuming again we're still so long away, and this is probably the news. I'm assuming is going to coincide this with Superman, kind of since they're releasing kind of at the same time. I'd assume relatively close. The news would come out for both of these films. So yeah, like Cal said, stay updated with us. Follow, subscribe, like all that stupid bullshit. But if you do that, you will be able to join us with these videos and follow along with the news and stuff and discuss what's going to happen with these films. So, we'd love to hear your comments. Don't forget to comment below. Tell us that we're full of shit or you have a different idea of what's going to happen.
Seems to be the first one more often than but that's fine. We don't ever censor anybody on here. Free speech and all that. However, also link down in the description here will be to Mantis's gaming channel, Mantis Toboggan Gaming, where right now he is streaming, as well as if you don't catch the stream, he's got the videos up of his playthrough through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's all I'm going to say about that game, because you guys definitely don't like when we talk about that. That's been proven. But if you are a fan of that, definitely go check that out as well. And Mantis?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I'm not gonna go too long on this. I need to get back in it. It's been fun so far. So I know you've played through it a little way further than I have. So yeah, come on, check them out. You don't have to be in the stream or anything, but if you want to check out the videos, it's a fun game.
Definitely a great game. I'm 38 hours into it, and yeah, you don't want to see me play it just because of but Mantis, unless you have anything else.
No, I can't wait to see what happens with this. So we'll stay tuned. We'll keep up on the news and bring it to you.
All right, guys, and then until the next time, we will catch you then.
Later.